Hey there. So you love essential oils and maybe you're even thinking about studying aromatherapy formally. So in this video, I'll be going over some reflection questions, some things you may want to consider when choosing your program, things that I wish I would have thought about or not about before I dived into doing my certification. So for those who don't know me, I'll quickly say hi, my name is Jessie. I'm an aromatherapy student since 2019. I should be done my program in 2022. Hi guys, just coming in. And technically I'm an aromatherapist by training at this point, just because I've gotten so far in my program. So I'll be going over some things that you may want to consider. So I can't wait for everyone, I don't know why. So number one is, what schools are a part of association and which association do you want to be a part of? So a lot of common associations that are well known and reputable would be NAHA, if I said that right, but National Association of Holistic Aromatherapy, AIA, so the Alliance of International Aromatherapists, and whatnot. So like I mentioned in my previous videos, if you haven't checked them out, check them out. Usually I'll say go to one of these websites, check to see what the accredited schools are so you can get really a quality school, because unfortunately there are a lot of weird aromatherapy courses, classes, certifications, accredited programs that I'm seeing online on like Groupon and other kind of cracker jack box or whatever you say. It's kind of programs that I don't think are really actually credited in a great place. Hi, Michele. Second one is, of course, when I was looking at different programs, what I did was I emailed my top programs that I was really considering. So one question I'd be asking myself is, are they available and open to answer questions? Something you may not have thought about, but I've talked to people in some aromatherapy programs where they'll contact the professor, ask questions, and the only time they hear back from the professor is when they submit their work, thanks for handing it in. And then there are other kind of programs where you have constant access to an instructor or a mentor, and then you have in between where you kind of get that delayed response. They're able to help you, but it's kind of, you really want to ask yourself, what do you want? What kind of support do you want? And don't be afraid to ask them before you sign up. I'm actually leaving an example. I'm going to mention some schools that I've heard good things about. So for example, I've heard of Aromahead, they have instructors that are pretty much always on the forum. And when you have questions, a lot of times you can search it up in the forum, which is really helpful because personally, I don't have that in my program and I have to email my professor. And then I feel like I'm going to pay in the butt sometimes, even though like I have a person that has a lot of questions. I still don't ask all the questions I have, and they might be surprised to hear that, but I don't ask all the questions I have. So a good question to ask people that you're thinking about studying with. Third point is, how available do you want your instructors to be? And it kind of is off the last question. Do you want them to be in constant contact with you? Because there's some schools that are more like solo, you're on your own. You can email the professor once in a while, but it's pretty like more of like a lonely route, where you're kind of more tapped into a community in with your instructors. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to contact the instructor, see kind of what the culture is like, what it's like, being in contact with them, and also people who are actually in the program already. It's a good way to say, hey, what school are you at? What's it like in terms of XYZ? Fourth one, case studies. When you are studying to be an aromatherapist or you're taking aromatherapy certifications, you'll have this thing called case studies. I've done 2 videos on this, so feel free to look at the ones that I've talked about, the ones that in my program, how they work. But basically you have like a volunteer that you will meet with, check out their like health history, what kind of health issues did they want to work on, and have a blend or essential oil product for. You make it for them, you give them a protocol, when to use it, for how long, and then you track their progress. Do they improve? Do they not improve? Does it get worse? Ideally, it doesn't get worse. How many do you want to do? There's some programs that only have, I think, like 5 case studies. There's some programs that, like mine, I have 30, so 30 case studies. I'm finding it really, really heavy. So really ask yourself, like, how many case studies do you want to have to do? And how much is too much? Like, where do you want to draw the line? Because for me, I'm finding it really heavy, 30. And just because you have like just 5 case studies in your program doesn't mean you can do that with other people. Okay, and something I'm going to say too, if you're watching this in the comments on the replay, feel free to say what your program is and like what your program's like. If you're like, oh, I'm at this school and actually the case studies are like this, and I see Michele is actually saying something here. So Michele, Positively Shelly, she says Amy Galper's program is amazing. She does weekly Q&A Zoom calls. Yes, I love stuff like that. To help answer questions, bring up concerns, etc. She's also available in a Facebook group or email. I'm probably going to tag Amy Gelper in just the comments like after I post this, because I want people to kind of know where they can go to, where they can explore. Thanks for mentioning that, Michelle, because I like hearing people's programs. Oh yeah, and then also with case studies. Do you have to do 30? Do you have to do 5? Do you have to do 15? What's it like handing it in? I've heard someone I know who was in Aromahead when she was at it. I don't know if things have changed. She was able to hand in a case study, get feedback, review, and then she can hand in one at a time, which I think is amazing. I kind of wish I was at Aromahead sometimes. Whereas mine, I'm not saying it's a bad program, it's just there's certain things I'm like, oh, this is kind of hard. We have to hand in 5 at a time. It gets marked, it comes back, so it's a lot of information at once, and then I have to hand in 10 case studies at a time, get the feedback, and I feel like it's harder to digest when you're handing in like 10 case studies at a time, whereas 1, and then you can tweak it and learn as you go. You still learn as you go like I'm doing, but it's a lot different. Oh yeah, and my friend who did do Aromahead, and then the one I'm at right now, she said Aromahead is like, it's a lot more simple, and you do 1 at a time. Also, with case studies, can you do the same conditions you're working on with someone and then change the formula and do it again? Or can you only work on somebody once for that condition? I really like the idea of being able to have a case study with someone, like let's say they have digestive upset, I make a blend, and let's say it fails, I don't do well. It can be really discouraging if that's my only shot. Whereas some programs will say, okay, you can try that person again and make a blend for them. And then you get to learn, you're like, what worked, what didn't, where, you know, not all programs allow you to do that. And then Michele says, our case studies, there's 5 case studies for level 1, 5 for level 2. And then you have to turn in case studies all together. Oh, too bad. That's okay though. However, I asked a ton of questions about my case studies during the Q&As. See, that helps, having that constant contact with the professor, instructor. Okay, another thing with case studies, a question to ask is, are you able to, I don't want to use the word treat, but are you able to address 1 condition at a time? Or do you have to address 3 conditions at a time? I know for the first part of my program, the first 15 case studies, if you checked out my last video, I'll link my videos down below because I know I might get questions. I had to look at the client and then pick 3 issues that I'm dealing with and then make 1 blend to address all 3, which was kind of a little more restrictive than I would have liked. I'm an artist. I just like to be able to have lots of choices, which if you look at my video, you'll see what I mean. So are you dealing with 1 issue, or are you dealing with 3 per person? 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th thing is, how many research papers do you have to do for your program? If you love research papers, you might want more. If you don't love researches, you might want less. I know some programs that have 1. I know some programs that have 2. I don't know if it goes higher than that, but it's something you may want to consider if you like or don't like case study or research papers. 6th thing, how long is the program? I know when we really love essential oils, we get really excited. We're like, oh my gosh, I want to the biggest program. I want to know the most things. That's kind of where I was at. My program is 600 hours. I really think it's a lot more because my 300-hour course, I swear I spent 500 hours on. So yeah, ask yourself, how much time and how many hours can you actually afford doing the program? And what does it look like long-term? Be realistic with yourself. If you like learning a lot, that's great. If not, you might want to do just a 235-hour program, which I think is what Aromahead has. A lot of programs have shorter ones. But yeah, how many hours can you actually do? And I think some people, I'll go to the next question and add on to that. Next question, what level of accreditation do you really want, right? So with NAHA, if you've checked out my other videos, I talked about NAHA having level 1, level 2, level 3. So level 1, if you're a massage therapist, a social worker, you may just want your level 1 at NAHA. But if you want to be fully just aromatherapy, this is what you do, level 2 or level 3 would be more appropriate for you. But do you really need to go to level 3? That's something you're going to have to go to the NAHA website, which I'll link down below, and really ask yourself what you really want. So yeah, do you really want that level? And that in mind, that might change how many hours that you'll have to put into it. yeah, like, what do you want to do with it? That changes the levels you need. And I was talking to this one person who was like a vintage aromatherapist, been an aromatherapist for a long time, had really cool accreditations. And during the beginning of my aromatherapy studies, I contacted her. I said, hey, look, like, what advice would you give to someone who's starting to study aromatherapy? Because like, I'm new, I don't, I'm just figuring things out. And one thing she said that really marked me was, she's like, try to get as many professors as you can get, as many instructors, just like diversify your knowledge. And I was like, oh, that's such, at first I was like, that's kind of weird. Why would she say that? But the more I get into it, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And I get that. So part of me, like, if I can go back in time, I probably would have done a shorter program. Even if it was like a level 2 at like, I'm going to start mentioning my favorite schools that I eventually might want to go to. Aromahead, School of Aromatic Studies, done like a level 2. I probably would have done like a level 2 at Aromahead, and then a level 3 to top it off with ingestion with School of Aromatic Studies. So like, you can mix and match and like build your programs. Of course, contact your association first, like NAHA, and then the schools, and see if they'll accept, the previous program to like complete it if you want to do like a level 3 with multiple programs. What level of accreditation do you want? We talked about this. Next one, what is important to you? Sometimes we don't ask ourselves that, but like, what do you really want from the program? And does the program have that? I guess I mentioned a lot of them, like certain accessibility to your instructors. If you want like a community, like find a school that has like a community where you can really connect with other people. If you want like interactive or like paper, I have a paper course. This course is actually going online, which is a little less tempting for me because I love paper. Is it working with animals? There's some programs that have, concentration on working with animals. And then another one, I wasn't sure if I was actually going to mention this, but I decided I'm going to, because this may relate to some people. But are you a part of an MLM? So multi-level marketing company, Young Living, doTERRA, stuff like that. Just because, for you guys who don't know, sometimes there's kind of this tension between aromatherapists or aromatherapy schools and MLMs and stuff like that. So if you are, I want to mention that there are some schools that seem to have more of a culture and instructor that is more acceptable and welcoming to the MLM world. And if that's you, I will mention a school from things I've heard. Okay, I've never been there, but I've heard that the School of Aromatic Studies with Jade Shutes, she's pretty welcoming. There isn't this like anti-MLM vibe that sometimes you'll get from certain instructors. And I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm going to read off some main things. Yeah, I'll just kind of recap. If you have any questions, ask them now. I'm going to do a quick recap. Again, links in the description once I upload this on YouTube and Instagram. So yeah, is it a part of association? Are your instructors available and open to answer whenever you have questions? How available are your instructors? Case studies, what does that look like? How many? How do you hand them in? How many people can you work with? Like, how many times can you work on one person with one case study with the same issue? How many research papers does it include? How long is the program actually in hours? And how many hours can you actually handle in a program, right? Do you have kids? Do you have other commitments going on? What level of accreditation do you want? What is important to you, right? Really personalize that. And then, are you part of an MLM, right? This might kind of affect some things. And Michele, Positive Michele, says, Amy's program, Aromatherapy in Action, is welcoming to MLM. Good to know. I like it. So yeah, just things that get you guys to think about. Again, if you are an aromatherapist, an aromatherapy student, again, feel free to comment down below, tell me about your program, different things that people might want to see or find interesting. But thanks for everyone who has come. I'll see you guys later, and bye-bye.